It all begins with a cute little kitten. The year is 2017. A high schooler is walking along a low roof as everyone heads to school. Amidst the crowd, there's a student with blue hair. Watching from an alley, Park Dong-ha comments that the kid is weird. His friend Go Hyun-chul asks why. Hyun-chul explains that he's the new transfer student who recently arrived, but he doesn't talk much. "What do you mean he doesn't talk?" Dong-ha asks. Hyun-chul says it's hard to explain that it goes beyond just being quiet. It's like the boy himself is made of silence, a profound silence. Dong-ha still doesn't understand. Just then a car speeds by. The protagonist Lee Ji-gun looks to the side and steps directly in front of it. The driver has to slam on the brakes, nearly running him over, and immediately starts cursing, wanting to know why the boy threw himself in front of the car. Ji-gun just stands there, stoic, not saying a word. From the alley, Dong-ha wonders why he'd just jump in front of a car like that. Hyun-chul tells him to look at Ji-gun's feet. The kitten was about to be run over and he had stepped in to shield it. The driver gets out of the car, gets in Ji-gun's face and starts yelling, grabbing him by the collar. He accuses the damn student of trying to cause an accident on purpose to get compensation money. Dong-ha watches, noting that even now the weird kid still doesn't say a word. His friend Hyun-chul says, "I already told you, man. It's like that kid has some weird illness that'll kill him if he opens his mouth. He's been like that ever since he got here." At that moment, a girl from their school, Yoon Yana, runs over asking the driver what happened. She approaches Ji-gun and asks if he's okay. The driver complains that the weird kid threw himself in front of the car in an obvious scheme to get money. Yana looks at Ji-gun and says, "I think he must have had a reason." She then starts bowing, apologizing on his behalf and asking the man to let it go just this once. As she pleads, she seems to shine, and the driver relents, saying, "Fine, but there won't be a second time." Back in the alley, Dong-ha asks why the queen of Class 5 would protect a kid like that. Hyun-chul, now holding the rescued kitten, suggests maybe it's because they're in the same class. He grumbles that the new kid had barely arrived and was already tiring everyone out. He asks the kitten if it agrees, but the kitten suddenly turns, scratches his face, and leaps away to freedom. Just then, Seo Ari walks by. Lying in the alley and bleeding, Hyun-chul gives a small wave to her. She just gives him a cold stare and turns away. Dong-ha asks why she has such a cold aura. Hyun-chul, however, responds that her coldness only makes her more attractive. He muses that just as Class 5 has their goddess Yoon Yana, their class has Seo Ari. Dong-ha retorts that it wasn't attractive at all. He was just being ignored like a loser. Hyun-chul tries to defend her, saying she's not cold, just shy and introverted, but kind, though she doesn't talk much. Dong-ha comments that she sounds just like the weirdo who jumped in front of the car, but Hyun-chul tells him not to compare Ari to that weirdo. Meanwhile, Ji-gun calmly heads to school. In the classroom, it's a chaotic scene with students sleeping and chatting while he stands completely still in the middle of it all, static and stoic. Suddenly, he opens his eyes to find a couple of girls filming him. They note that he's meditating in the middle of class again. It's been a month since he transferred, and he has done this every single day. To celebrate his 1-month anniversary, Yena has taken a picture of him. She asks what he thinks, and says if he doesn't like it, he can just press the delete button. She tells him not to hesitate just because she helped him earlier. When he doesn't move to delete it, she takes it as permission to keep the photo and thanks him. Right at that moment, the classroom door slams open, revealing an intimidating presence. It's the school bully, Choi Tae-yu. Everyone looks back as he stands there scowling. He spots Yena and the other girls gathered around Ji-gun and comments on how nice the atmosphere seems. He approaches them, asking Ji-gun why girls are always flocking around him. Tae-yu says that, to be honest, Ji-gun himself looks like a girl. He grabs Ji-gun's arm, saying he should be more of a man, but remarks on how feminine his arm feels before touching his face. "I might just fall in love because you're so soft," he taunts. Ji-gun remains quiet, confused by the bully's behavior. Yena tells Tae-yu to cut it out, saying no one finds it funny. He ignores her messing with Ji-gun's hair and calling him cute. Then he turns to Yena, annoyed. "I invited you to karaoke yesterday. Why didn't you show up?" She stares back at him coldly. "I went to bed early because I was tired. I sent you a message you should understand." "We already made plans," he retorts. "Even if you were tired, you should have shown up when your boyfriend calls. I was tired of waiting. He turns back to her and warns her not to skip today. Another student quickly pulls out a chair for Taeyu, who slumps into it. Soon after, the teacher arrives and class begins. Sometime later, during a break, the boys are playing foot volleyball. Meanwhile, Jagun is sitting alone on a bench when someone approaches him. Out of nowhere, Yuna starts provoking Dejun again, complaining that it's way too hot. She sits very close to him, asking if he isn't feeling hot, too. She blows some air on his face, asking if he likes it and if he finds it refreshing, but he remains stoic as always. She laughs, saying it's ironic how he never says anything. Meanwhile, Taesung is in the middle of the court, glancing back and seeing his girlfriend acting that way toward another guy, a sight that wouldn't make any boyfriend happy. The problem is, he gets distracted. A player on the other team kicks the ball hard, and it smacks Taesung right in the face. But Taesung takes the hit like a tank, and the ball goes flying. The other player, Inho, apologizes, saying he was just trying to pass. Taesung turns around, remarking that his face is now wrecked, but then he claps his hands and says it's fine. He admits it only happened because he wasn't paying attention and says it's best to just keep the game going. At least he handled it maturely, though. At the same time, he's just staring at Daejun in the background. A while after recess, Dejun is on the rooftop, quiet and alone as always, when the door suddenly opens. The scene shifts to Inho, who is on the floor apologizing to Taesung's gang. Taesung tells him he'll only regret it after he's tasted a little blood. Inho's legs are shaking. Just then, Daejun stands up. One of the bullies glances back, startled, and asks what the hell the freak is doing there. Taesung comments that it looks like Daejun is eating alone again and calls him a weird kid. He then turns his attention back to Inho, holding up an electric buzzer and saying he's about to create a masterpiece. He tells Inho to pay close attention. The buzzer does its job, and Taesung's friends start laughing, calling it a perfect work of art. He shows the result to Dajun and asks what he thinks of the masterpiece. Poor Inho is left with just 2 small tufts of hair. As everyone cracks up, Taesung presses Daejun for his opinion. Obviously, Daejun says nothing. Taesung demands to know why he isn't laughing. He gets closer and says that for a masterpiece to be perfect, the model's expression is necessary, and looking at Daejun, he's sure he'd be the perfect model. Perhaps it was time for him to create another masterpiece right there. The buzzer gets closer to Daejun's head as Taesung asks, "Don't you want it? If you don't want it, just say no. But if you don't say anything, that means yes." Of course, Daejun doesn't respond. "It's decided then," Taesung says, moving in with the buzzer and declaring he's going to make Daejun more beautiful than ever. Suddenly, Taesung hesitates. He lowers the buzzer, saying he won't cut it after all. He knows that if he shaves Daejun's head, the girls will be all over his case. He turns around and tells everyone to leave. Meanwhile, Inho is left there with just 2 little tufts of hair. He picks up his phone to look at the disaster and takes a photo as evidence. He's angry that the bullies could have at least finished the job instead of leaving the tufts. Suddenly, he looks over at Daejun and asks why he isn't laughing. Inho admits that he thinks it's funny too, so it's okay for Daejun to laugh. But Daejun just sits there, stoic. Inho says, "You really are different from the others. If it were me sitting on that bench and I saw someone with this haircut, I'd be dying of laughter." He steps away, adding that he's thankful Daejun isn't laughing in his face. At the school exit, it's raining and everyone is waiting at the entrance for it to pass. In the crowd, Yujin has her umbrella and glances over to see Daejun calmly walking in the rain as if it were a sunny day. Suddenly, someone calls out to him. It's one of Taesung's cronies telling him, "Taesung wants to have a chat. You'd better come along." Right after the 4 of them are waiting for him. Taesung says he was looking forward to seeing the great popular guy from class, noting that Daejun still looks beautiful even soaked in the rain. Yuna turns and asks why he called Daejun there, but Taesung tells her to calm down, saying he just wants to check something. He then holds up Yuna's phone to Daejun's face and asks, "Do you see this?" He demands to know why Daejun's face is his girlfriend's wallpaper. As usual, Daejun does nothing, just standing there in silence staring at Taesung. Taesung says he doesn't know if he's being petty, but he wants to understand the situation. To be honest, Yuna is the one causing all of this, constantly flirting with Daejun even though she has a boyfriend. She even tells Taesung that she's only using Daejun as a wallpaper because he has a cool vibe. Obviously confused, Taesung asks if it's really just that. Yuna gets close to Daejun, grabs him by the arm and tells him to just go, saying this has nothing to do with him and that she'll see him at school tomorrow. Furious Taesung asks why his girlfriend is taking the side of that damn bastard right in front of him. She turns on him yelling, "You're the loser, you need to stop crossing the line." In response, Taesung slaps her hard across the face. The force of the blow is so strong that she spins, and a spray of blood lands on Daejun's cheek. At that moment, Daejun feels something strange stir inside him. Taesung screams at Yuna asking why she is siding with that kid in front of her own boyfriend. He then gets in Daejun's face and says, "It looks like you already know all the girls like you. Are you interested in Yuna? She's pretty cute, even if she has a bad temper. If you were honest and said what you wanted, I'd even hand her over to you. You must be really into her, so just say it." Yuna, still on the ground, laughs at his talk of them being a couple. She fires back that she's not with someone who throws parties, buys drinks for other girls, and makes bets on social media. He turns on her angrily, shouting that he already apologized for that mess and that it was his friends who set up the situation, not him. Yuna retorts that he wasn't worthy of being her boyfriend anymore and that it's over. In response, Taesung lands a vicious kick to her stomach. Even Daejun feels the force of the impact. The poor girl is left trembling and contorted in pain. Yuna gasps that it's really the end for them and that she must have been crazy to ever date him. He grabs her by the collar, demanding to know who gave her permission to break up with him. She says she doesn't care and tells him to go ahead and hit her again if he wants. "Fine then," he says, "we'll settle this now." But as he goes to punch her, his arm is blocked. Daejun had moved to intercept the blow. Taesung demands to know what he thinks he's doing, sneering that Daejun really was interested in her after all. He throws a punch, yelling that he already warned Daejun not to cross the line. The punch lands squarely on Daejun's cheek. In his mind, Daejun remembers a blonde-haired girl telling him to come to his senses. He snaps out of his daze, plants his feet, and manages to stay standing. Taesung shocked that Daejun took the hit lunges again, vowing not to hold back anymore. He hits Daejun squarely in the solar plexus, a blow that would knock most people out. But Daejun just stares back coldly. Taesung lunges again, screaming for the bastard to die, but this time Daejun dodges and lands a clean punch on his jaw. The hit sends Taesung spinning before he falls face first onto the asphalt. Taesung's friends call out his name while a shocked Yuna asks Daejun what he is doing. Taesung gets up, spitting out a tooth, only to be met with a swift kick to the chin. His friends try to step in, but they stand no chance. Daejun dodges their attacks and serves them jaw-breaking punches. One of them grabs a metal rod to hit Daejun in the head, but Daejun counters with a spinning kick to his chest, sending him to the ground. The bull-headed friend just stands there, having done nothing so far, while Taesung can only wonder what Daejun even is. Daejun, standing in the rain, stares at him like a demon before landing another punch straight to the face. He groans, but receives another, and then another as punches fly until Yuna intervenes, screaming that Taesung will die if he keeps going. Daejun hesitates for a second as lightning strikes his face, a mask of pure psychosis. Yuna calls out to him again, but he just throws on his backpack and walks away, leaving her and the bull-headed friend to wonder what he even is. The story notes that behind Daejun's silence lies a deep darkness. The scene flashes back to earlier when the bull-headed friend called Daejun away. Yujin had overheard everything, and finding it suspicious, decided to follow. Peeking around a corner, all she could hear were the sounds of Daejun taking on the group, the sickening crack of bones echoing from a distance. Suddenly, a bloody hand slammed against the wall near her. It was Daejun. He glanced over and saw her hiding. Trembling, she offered him her umbrella, but he just gave her his classic empty stare, turned around, and walked off, leaving her in the rain. The next day, the sun is shining, and the students in class are wondering where the pretty boy Daejun and Taesung are. The girls complain that the classroom feels empty without Daejun, while Yuna reflects on how the situation was her fault. The scene shifts to a group of delinquents under a bridge. A guy with piercings, introduced as Kang Doyle, says he can't believe it. He heard Taesung had been drinking and partying, and now he's in the hospital. He demands to know his condition. The bull-headed friend reports that Taesung's face is full of fractures, and he'll be hospitalized for a while, too embarrassed to have visitors. Kang Doyle asks how many people were beaten up, and the friend replies, 4. Kang Doyle says he knows Taesung wouldn't lose a physical fight, so he demands to know who did this. The friend explains that it's a mysterious new transfer student named Dejun, who doesn't talk much. Furious, the large man with Kang Doyle grabs the friend by the neck, asking why his face is untouched if everyone else got beaten up. Trembling, the friend claims he thought 5 against 1 was unfair and that the other 4 would win. The man slams him against the wall, accusing him of making things up. Kang Doyle asks what school Daejun transferred from, but the friend says nobody knows. He's never even heard the guy's voice, saying he's like a mute. After being slapped and called useless, he's ordered to describe what Daejun looks like. Blushing, the friend reluctantly admits that Daejun is incredibly handsome, like a model, and that all the girls talk about him. On top of that, he gives off the vibe of coming from a rich family and has charisma and beautiful eyes. The large man slaps his back, asking if he's fallen in love. Kang, however, is intrigued. A silent transfer student who beat up Taesung, who is also charismatic, good-looking, and a skilled fighter, a rare combination indeed. He wonders, what even is that guy? The next day, Daejun arrives at school silent as always. Daejun heads to his locker and Bullhead keeps an eye on him, remembering that Kang Doyle had ordered him to find out everything he could about this kid. He finds the task overwhelming, questioning why he ever agreed to it. Just as Daejun opens his locker, he sees a phone inside. A memory flashes in his mind as he picks it up and sees a message that says, "Congratulations." The sender explains that he has received a free phone. It's an old model, but at least he can install messaging apps. The person says they'd listen to any problem he wanted to share and asks him to send a message soon. Daejun looks around and Bullhead quickly hides, worried he's been discovered. But Daejun looks the other way. Across the hall, Yujin Oh stands with her own phone, blushing as she waits for him to message her. Bullhead wonders what Daejun will do. Daejun simply places the phone on top of the locker and walks away. Bullhead rushes over to check it, noting that it's an old, unlocked model. He's confused as to why Daejun would discard it. Suddenly, someone shoulder checks him, making him hit his face on the locker. Yujin snatches the phone and vanishes, leaving Bullhead dazed and wondering who that crazy girl was. Meanwhile, one of Yuna's friends is talking about her aunt's new poodle puppies, but Yuna isn't listening. Her friend tells her to stop zoning out. Embarrassed, Yuna insists she's focused, but her friend calls her out, saying she's obviously thinking about Daejun, who is absent again. Blushing, Yuna denies it, but just then her friend's face turns red as she calls out Daejun's name. There he is, standing right in front of them. One look from him freezes Yuna in place. She quickly hands her belongings to her friend, tells her to wait, and runs toward Daejun, jumping into his arms for a hug. Everyone around them is confused as Yuna starts crying, saying she was worried about him and asking if he's okay. She tells him she will never forget that he saved her and will be grateful forever. From a distance, Bullhead watches and confirms that the girls are indeed in love with Daejun. He makes another note for his report. Arrives late to school. Most of the girls like him. Still doesn't speak. With that, another school day ends and our stoic protagonist walks home. On the way, a guy on a motorcycle is smoking and staring at him. He whistles and a second guy with glasses gets on another bike. The two of them corner Daejun and ask if he's Daejun. He gives them his signature empty stare. The guy with glasses remarks that since he's not answering, it must be him. He tells Daejun that their boss Kang Doyle wants to have a chat and that he should get on the bike. The other adds that Kang Doyle is a legend from Hong High School and that he should feel honored by the friendly invitation. Daejun does nothing. The guy with glasses asks if he's deaf and tells him again to get on. When Daejun starts to turn away, the guy grabs his backpack, threatening to break both his legs. Daejun gives him a cold stare and the guy lets go. Daejun drops his backpack and walks off as if he doesn't care. Muttering that Daejun is a freak, the two bikers rev their engines and head toward him, but he has already disappeared into an alley. The first biker tries to make a sharp turn and crashes into a wall. The second one handles the turn better, but Daejun is already climbing a nearby stairway. The biker charges up the stairs on his motorcycle. Daejun nudges a trash bag and then delivers a swift kick to the rider's chin, sending him and his bike flying back down into his friend. The dedicated biker tells his friend to get up and go after Daejun. He runs up the stairs, but Daejun is like a ghost. He sees him around a corner, but when he gets there, he's gone. He then spots him going down the stairs on the other side and grabs a shoulder, only to find it's a random bystander who then gets an undeserved beating from the frustrated biker. Nearby, Daejun, like Batman, stands on a rooftop above, hands in his pockets, staring down at the two before turning and heading home. Back at the bridge, the two idiots apologize to Kang Doyle, explaining that Daejun refused the invitation. The large man with Kang stomps his foot, wanting to know how two people couldn't bring in a single kid. They claim they got caught in a maze-like stairway and lost him. Kang Doyle just says that the more he tries to catch this kid, the more interesting he gets. He asks Bullhead if he found anything. Awkwardly, Bullhead presents his notes. Kang reads them. Arrives late to school. Girls like him. Doesn't speak. He gives Bullhead a glare, asking if that's really all he managed to gather, as the large man threatens Bullhead, asking if he wants to get beaten up. He sees Kang Doyle doing push-ups. Kang tells the others to let Bullhead go, but gives him one last chance. Bring Daejun to the back exit of the school. Kang Doyle makes it clear that he expects obedience, and tomorrow Daejun will have no choice but to meet him. Bullhead guarantees it will be taken care of, all while wondering why he's getting involved in all this when he doesn't even know who Daejun really is. The next day, Bullhead is holding 2 grape juices. His friends assume he bought them for himself, but he snaps that he'd never buy anything for idiots like them. Just then, he sees Daejun and latches onto him, saying, Good morning, Daejun. As always, you look amazing. Here's a little drink to help you relax. Daejun gives him a blank stare. Bullhead quickly explains that Daejun is probably getting the wrong idea. He claims he's not friends with Kang Doyle's gang, and that he's actually there to thank Daejun for taking care of Taesung's crew. He says seeing them get beaten up felt good, and the drink is a token of his gratitude. As always, Daejun ignores him and walks away. Bullhead knew it wouldn't be that easy, but he has to bring Daejun to the back of the school, or he'll be the one getting beaten up by Kang Doyle. The school day begins, and Daejun is at his desk, calm as ever. A while later, when the classroom is empty during a break, Bullhead watches him head to his usual spot on the rooftop to eat his snack. Once there, Daejun finds that the mini-stalker Yujin Oh has left her phone for him again. She has sent a message asking if he's going to eat alone. He hasn't even responded, and she's already sent 200 more messages asking if he always eats alone up there, and saying she sometimes likes to eat alone too. She explains she saw him and wanted to talk. He glances to one side, and a new message comes in telling him she's on the other side. He looks over and sees a small hand waving. She then hides her hand and apologizes in a message saying she doesn't feel comfortable meeting lots of people. She heard he doesn't talk much either, and mentions that she's kind of the same. She types that she's curious why he doesn't speak. Her thumb is hovering over the send button when suddenly someone calls out to Daejun. It's Bullhead, remarking on the coincidence of them bumping into each other so often. He says he came up to eat some bread alone, but since he ran into a friend, they could eat together. Daejun remains silent, calmly sipping his drink. Meanwhile, Yujin is just staring at her phone, hoping for a message. Daejun looks over and sees Bullhead trembling and crying. Through tears, Bullhead blurts out that he has no friends, and that's why he hangs out with Taesung and the other guys. He explains he's scared of being alone, and suggests that since they are both loners, they should stick together. But Daejun remains static, not even looking at him. Bullhead is dying of frustration, wondering why nothing works on this kid. He even managed to force out some real tears, but got no reaction. Daejun gets up and starts to walk away. Desperate Bullhead grabs his arm and begs him to wait, asking if they can be friends. But Daejun just keeps walking, dragging Bullhead along before slamming the door and leaving him behind. Messages start flooding Bullhead's phone from Kang Doyle, asking why they haven't shown up yet. Biting his nails, Bullhead knows that if he doesn't bring Daejun, he's the one who will get beaten. He runs out desperately, searching the school. He doesn't see Daejun in the classroom until he spots him sitting on top of a desk, looking like he's in a commercial. A message from Kang startles him. Gathering his courage, Bullhead calls out to Daejun again. He happily claims he just told his mom that he finally made a friend, and she was so proud that she asked to meet Daejun downstairs. He pleads with Daejun to respect her request, assuring him it's nothing serious. He's certain that any decent person would accept a request like that. He sees Daijun thinking and believes he's contemplating it. Pushing his luck, Bullhead says, "We're friends, and it'll be quick, so no problem." From the side, Yujin watches alert to the suspicious situation. Bullhead leads Daijun down a path saying it's the fastest way to get there. Mentally, he apologizes, thinking that in this neighborhood you can't survive if you're too innocent. He takes out his phone, sends a message, and once again apologizes to himself. Kang Doyle smiles as he receives the message. He walks toward the two and accidentally bumps his shoulder into Daijun. Kang Doyle grabs Daijun by the backpack, telling him to be more careful, then yanks him and slams him against the wall. He steps in close and says, "It's a pleasure to meet you. You really do have a pretty face." He adds that the fighting skills people talked about seem kind of exaggerated. Just then, Daijun places his foot on Kang's chest and pushes him back. Daijun lands on his feet, but the phone he received bounces on the ground, heading for a storm drain. He gets distracted watching it, and at that same moment, Dalsik throws a punch. Daijun is forced to raise his arms to defend himself, and the impact hits hard. At least with that block, he manages to kick the phone away from the drain. Dalsik clenches his fists and says it's time to finish him. He stares Daijun down and asks if he really thinks he can win given their size difference. As always, Daijun is silent. Off in the distance, Bullhead apologizes mentally, hoping that if Daijun gets beaten quickly, Dalsik will stop. Dalsik comes running to shoulder charge him, but Daijun grabs his backpack and uses it as a shield. He still gets slammed into the wall, but the impact seems manageable. Dalsik remarks that Daijun is actually a little smarter than he looks. Daijun empties his backpack, and as Dalsik charges again, he flips to the side, wraps the backpack strap around Dalsik's foot, and yanks, dropping him flat on his back. Dalsik goes to yell, calling him a bastard, but a punch lands right beside his head. Dalsik freezes as Daijun stands over him, placing a large foot on the back of his neck. Dalsik tries to get up, but Daijun delivers a spinning blow to the top of his head. From afar, a terrified Bullhead wonders how Daijun is beating up Dalsik. Dalsik's face is a mess as he tries to understand what just happened. Daijun gets up, glances back, and picks up the phone. But Dalsik gets up like a crazed monkey, yelling, "This ain't over yet." Daijun turns to defend himself, but ends up dropping the phone. Dalsik grabs it and says that it seems important to him. He says all he came here to do was bring Daijun to Kang Doyle, and that it's a shame he won't be able to deliver him beaten up. He calls someone and the motorcycle guys show up. Dalsik hops on, saying that if Daijun wants the phone back, he'll have to go to Sisha Park, where his welcome party is already prepared. The bike revs up and takes off. Just then Bullhead comes up and asks if Daijun is hurt. He says he really was close to getting beaten up and asks what Daijun is going to do now that they have his phone. He warns that if Daijun doesn't go get it back, all his information could be leaked. As always, Daijun is silent. Bullhead thinks he's done more than his fair share, and that there's nothing more he can do. Daijun gets up and starts walking. Since his house is in the other direction, Bullhead figures he's actually going to the park. The scene shifts to Daijun climbing a staircase, walking past a group of delinquents smoking. When he gets to the top, a proper reception is waiting a bunch of thugs with colored hair and piercings. Daijun just stands there staring at everyone. In the back is Kang Doyle, who says that finally something good has shown up. He holds up the phone and asks if Daijun came for it. Daijun says nothing and walks toward him. Kang remarks that there didn't seem to be anything important on the phone. No saved contacts, no call history. The only thing it had were some texts from a girl who seems to have her eyes on him. He figures that since Daijun came all this way to get it back, it must mean something to him. Daijun stretches out his hand. Kang asks if the girl is his girlfriend or if they're just messing around, adding that he's super curious. He admits he even sent her a message himself because he got frustrated seeing their sweet talk. He reassures Daijun that what he told her would help things get moving. The problem is, the message he sent didn't sound like Daijun at all. He sent a message saying he was super lonely and asked her to meet him, telling her that if she went to the city park, she'd officially become his girlfriend starting today. Back with Kang, he says that if she shows up after seeing that message, then she definitely likes him, and Daijun will owe him one. Daijun, however, just stands there with his hand stretched out, not saying a word. Kang says he gets it, but his guys had worked hard to get Daijun to show up. Not to mention, Daijun had beaten up Tae-sung, and even though Kang didn't like him, they were once friends. He tells Daijun that there's a price to be paid. Dajun, of course, still says nothing. Kang calls him a weirdo and says the deal is simple if Dajun can survive a fight against everyone, he gets the phone back. He explains that since Dajun is a transfer student, he might not understand how things work. The area has a competitive ranking system, and the moment he beat Taesung, he entered the ranking. Now it's time for him to show how skilled he really is. That very second, Dalsik is in Daejun's face saying it's time for revenge. He throws a punch, but Daejun just sidesteps and gives him a cold stare. Dalsik yells for everyone to attack. Daejun dodges the first one, steps to the side and clenches his fist, but stops just before smashing the guy's face. Two others come from behind. He glances at them but gets slammed to the ground. He falls between another guy's feet, who lands a punch right in his face. At that same moment, another thug comes in for a kick. From afar, Kang Doyle watches him get beaten and wonders why he's only dodging and blocking. The guy next to him remarks that this weirdo isn't even screaming even while getting beat up. It seems like he's willing to risk his life just to stay silent. Kang Doyle says he's curious what kind of voice would come out of a face like Daejun's. He then yells to his guys that whoever makes Daejun scream will win a limited edition pair of Jordans. Excited, the thugs instantly rush to beat him up. Daejun just tanks everything while Kang yells at him to show what kind of skills he has, reminding him that he was supposed to be a rare item. Dalsik comes charging, telling everyone to move aside and asks where Daejun's fighting spirit went. He lands a kick right to Daejun's chin, dropping him to the ground. As Daejun lies there, one of the thugs picks up a rock and says he's going to smash his head unless he screams. But out of nowhere, Kang Doyle smacks the guy on the head and asks if he wants to die for trying a cheap move like that. The guy apologizes, and Kang leans over Daejun, wanting to know if he actually likes getting beaten up or if he's hiding something. He warns him that this isn't going to end until he proves himself. Behind a tree, Bullhead, who had followed Daejun to see what would happen, is now feeling bad. Just as he expected, even if Daejun is strong, there's no way to beat an entire gang alone. But then he sees Yujin-Oh approaching. She actually went there. Kang's phone vibrates and he sees a message from her asking him to let Daejun go. When he looks up there, she is standing with her phone in her hand. Kang says that maybe now Daejun will finally be motivated to fight since his little love interest has shown up. He sends one of his guys after her. She's typing a message when the thug grabs her arm from behind, remarking that it's weird for someone so pretty to come all the way there. He pulls her forward and says she's not leaving today. Bullhead, remembering she's in his class and that he's her #1 fan, is furious at what the thug is doing. But when he thinks about acting, he just keeps hiding, trembling in fear. The guy brings Yujin to Kang. Daejun looks over and sees the poor girl trembling. He remembers when she gave him the umbrella and waved at him, and now she's all caught up in this mess. Finally, Daejun seems to be taking this seriously. The guys look back, remarking that the girl actually showed up. Dalsik steps on Daejun's shoulder and asks if she came all this way to become his lover, adding that it's too bad because Daejun has been frustratingly polite. Yujin starts typing a message saying he's just a friend and asking them to let him go. Confused Kang asks why she isn't saying anything either. He tells her to say her name, but she just trembles. Kang finds it ironic that the two of them are just alike. The guys around her start laughing, calling them the WhatsApp couple. Once again, Kang says he'll give a reward to whoever makes either of them speak. Dalsik asks if it's okay for him to mess with the girl, and Kang says yes. The thugs start circling her, saying that if she doesn't talk, she can't say no either. One creep grabs her hair, saying it smells nice, while another grabs her chin. Daejun's expression changes, and Kang watches, wondering what he'll do. As one of them asks what they're going to do with her mouth, Daejun sidesteps and takes a hit right on the chin. The guy next to him looks over, sees him fall, and gets hit in the same second. The pink-haired thug gets smacked as well. Kang celebrates, saying that Daejun has finally started fighting. Yujin, on the other hand, is frozen, not understanding what's going on. The rest of the group charges, and Daejun dodges the first punch, grabs one by the leg, and slams another to the ground. He gets a kick in one guy's face, jumps toward Dalsik, dodges a punch, steps on his thigh, and knees him in the chin. Before Dalsik can even fall, Daejun hits him with a spinning kick right under the jaw. Kang celebrates in the back, saying Daejun really is a rare one. But Dalsik tanks the hit, grabs Daejun by the chest, and says he's going to crush him. Daejin gives him a double elbow to the center of the skull, a whole combo that finally slams Dalsik to the ground. The others charge again, and Daejin has to keep dodging, punching one, and kicking another while Kang tries to understand where this kid even came from. The blue-haired thug in the back grabs Yujin and yells for Daejun to get on his knees or his little girlfriend gets hurt. When Daejun looks over, he seems to see something from his past, a memory of another girl crying out his name. This stirs something in him. He charges forward, and the guy holding Yujin tells him not to come any closer but gets decked right in the face anyway. Just like with Taesung, Daejin snaps and starts unloading punch after punch into the guy's face. Kang in the back says that's enough and tells him to stop. He holds out the phone and tells Daejin to come grab it because he deserved it. The only price is that he'd have to join their group. Daejun gets up, goes in with clenched fists, and Kang stretches his arms to the sides, saying it's over. But Daejun just raises his fist. Kang glances over and gets into a fighting stance, leaving only an afterimage behind as he steps to the side and lands one square on Daejun's chin. Daejun hits the ground badly beaten up. Kang approaches, tells him to cut it out, throws the phone on his chest and tells him to take it and stop being a pain. He calls for his boys and tells them to leave. As the crew heads down the stairs, everyone's wondering who that bastard even was. Dalsik is still fixing his jaw, asking if Kang really wants to recruit that weirdo who doesn't even speak. Kang, however, isn't really listening because his lip is bleeding. He was sure he had dodged perfectly, but even beaten-up Daejun had reacted fast enough to cut his lip. He really did have a knack for hitting weak spots. Meanwhile, back at the park, Daejin sits on a bench. The mute couple is just there staring at each other. Suddenly, Yujin takes off running. Once she's a little farther away, she tells him to wait, saying she's going to get some medicine. Daejin just remembers the moment the thug threatened to hurt her. He looks up deep in thought, puts the phone on the bench, and walks off. Bullhead, watching from a distance, thinks that if it had been a one-on-one fight from the start, Daejun definitely would have won. It looked like someone really dangerous had entered the school. At that moment, Go Hyun-chul walks toward the bench and sees the phone. He immediately remembers it's the same one he'd left on a shelf and now realizes it belongs to Jigun. He starts wondering what's going on between him and CO Ari. Just then, Ari appears in the background, desperately carrying medicine. Unsure what to do, Hyun-chul decides he doesn't care, grabs the phone and takes off running. Ari gets to the bench and, of course, finds it empty. Looks like Hyun-chul has already vanished. The phone in his pocket rings. It's Ari telling Jigun that she bought the medicine, but he has already left, and she asks if his injury is okay. Hyun-chul is annoyed that the bastard Jigun is making Ari worry. He doesn't know what to do. Should he just send a quick message to calm her down? Ari sends another text with her name saying she's from Class 4. Poor Hyun-chul knows that better than anyone. Then she thanks him for saving her and asks if they can start talking little by little. Of course, this is a golden opportunity. But Hyun-chul doesn't know what to do. He feels bad ignoring her, but he could also just pretend to be Jigun for a little while. Seeing the message, he replies with a simple K. That sounds like something Jigun would send, considering he'd probably never send anything at all. The next day, in an alley, Park Dong-ha is watching a video of a fight. It looks like Hyun-chul recorded the whole thing and is showing it to him. Dong-ha asks, "Isn't that the mute student you said was an idiot?" Hyun-chul agrees, admitting that the kid was way stronger than he expected. Dong-ha comments that the guy fights incredibly well and would be super popular if people knew. But Hyun-chul is already thinking that the bastard is too popular, even noting that the amazing Seo Ari likes him. He's the one who likes Ari, and he's mad that she's being ignored by Jigun. At the same time, of course, he feels relieved. He's an emotional mess. How could his goddess get rejected like that? Dong-ha says they have to put the fight on TikTok, that it will go viral. Of course not, Hyun-chul says, but his friend is already running off. He tries to chase after him but ends up bumping into someone and falls to the ground. He's about to apologize but looks up to see the rank 2 of Baekdo High School, Kim Jin-woo. It seems the guy is well known because Hyun-chul starts trembling as he tries to fix his crooked school badge. Jin-woo gives him a light slap in the face and keeps walking while his friend with a bowl haircut tells Hyun-chul to watch where he's going. Dong-ha asks if he's okay and Hyun-chul says it didn't hurt that much. His buddy says he got lucky. Kim Jin-woo is known for being a maniac who loves fighting, so the fact he let him off easy was a blessing. That's when they hear someone calling for Jigun. They look back and see Yoon Yena clinging to him, asking what happened and why his face is all bruised. Seeing that Hyunchul just feels rage. That bastard is too popular, first Ari, now Yena. He doesn't understand why this guy is the god's chosen one. Speaking of his goddess, Ari walks by at that moment. He gives a small, "Hey," only to be completely ignored. He figures that to get close to her, he'll have to get close to Jigun first. Meanwhile, his friend is already posting the transfer student's fight video to TikTok. Not long after in class, the bullied student Gu Mansik is getting his head doodled on again. Someone drew an emoji on his scalp, which actually looked kind of cute. "At least from that side you look better now," a bully jokes. Everyone's cracking up while Mansik sits there realizing his life is a mess. The guys even say that from now on, he's going to have to walk backward to have better luck with girls. The poor guy has no choice. He's in the hallway walking backward until he stumbles at the stairs and nearly falls like a complete idiot. But it's fine because Jigun shows up and saves him. Mansik glances at him and apologizes. Yena asks if he's okay and he says yes. Even she bursts out laughing when she sees what's on his head. "Don't laugh," he says. "It's an inside joke." She covers her mouth saying, "Okay then," while Jigun just walks off. The guy gets emotional realizing that Jigun never laughs at him. The next day in the gym, it looks like a fight club is going on. Everyone's cheering and the one organizing it is Kim Jin-woo. He comments that this is getting boring and that the fighters have no skill. Then one of his guys hands him a phone and tells him to take a look. It's a video of the transfer student and it looks like he wrecked a bunch of people. The post is already filling up with comments and Kim Jin-woo wants to know if that kid is really from their school. He was pretty skilled. The guys next to him don't even believe it, saying it looks staged. But when Jin-woo sees that the uniform is the same, he gets excited. This was a chance to gain a ton of views. He calls his group over and asks who knows the new transfer student. A student says he's a kid from class 5 who doesn't talk at all, but warns him to be careful because there's a rumor that Choi Taeyu was hospitalized because of him. Hearing that, the kid even beat up Taeyu. Jin-woo gets excited and tells his friend to get more info on him. During the break, the bullies are calling for Mansik to go eat. At that moment, Jigun steps out of the classroom and Mansik goes over to talk to him. He says he bought a bun and wanted to eat together. The two of them head to the rooftop. When they get there, though, Go Hyunchul is there saying he was waiting. Where do these guys even come from? Who knows, but now he has a squad. Hyunchul wants to know why Mansik is walking around with Jigun, and Mansik asks him the same thing. The two are about to start arguing when Hyunchul sees the little face drawn on Mansik's head and bursts out laughing, asking why he's trying to make everyone laugh. Poor Mansik says he's not. His head is undeniable proof that school bullying is still real. While they're having this little back and forth, Jigun is just there calmly eating. Just as Hyunchul is about to snap a photo of Mansik's head for evidence, his phone rings. A message from Ari. Right away he takes off running, saying they can eat there, he's heading out. She had just sent a "have a nice break" message. He's all flustered, replying, "You too," which leaves Ari blushing, still thinking she's talking to Jigun. But the happiness doesn't last long. The door opens, and in comes another enemy. Hyunchul recognizes him as Jong Min and wants to know what he's doing there. But the guy just looks straight at Jigun and comments that people have been saying he hangs out alone during breaks, and it looks like it's true. He walks toward him, shows him the viral video on his phone, and asks if that's him. Mansik is shocked, not understanding what's going on. Jamin says he wants to see if the kid's skills match the rumors. "Why are you just standing there doing nothing?" he taunts, then swings a punch, intentionally throwing it beside Jigun's head. "When are you finally going to do something?" Since our boy doesn't react, he winds up for a real one and says, "This one's going to earn a like on the video."